Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
With an ever-increasing demand for potassium due to increasing crop yields, there is a need for a better source of potassium with improved availability and uptake potential. Alpine K-Tech is the most plant-available form of potassium and is able to enter the plant quickly and easily. As a foliar application, K-Tech is tank mixable with many crop protection products, thereby increasing the grower's resource use efficiency. K-Tech offers balance, fertility, and an added energy source for the plant. The latest development of premium crop nutrition is doing a lot more with a lot less for your crops. Learn more at www.alpinepfl.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. I am so excited to have you back and a special guest with us once again. I have Justin Chaput from Talbot Associates. Welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to finally get you on the show. We were supposed to get together and in person at the St. Norbert office, and then this thing called COVID-19 kind of rocked our world. So
yeah, that's right. We've all had to adapt and find new ways of doing things and new ways of communicating, right?
And here we are. As I was saying before we got on the show, my point of pride with the Impact Farming Show has been that every single episode, all 100 plus episodes, have been done in person. It's a lot of time to make that happen, and it was a point of pride. Then COVID-19 kind of came along, and here we are. We're doing Zoom, and I'm actually really liking it. You're my second Zoom interview, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
So before we dive in, we are going to be chatting with Justin about AgriInvest as part of our risk management series that I also started before COVID and had to do a little bit of a detour. So we're getting back on track, and I'm really excited to have you on the show because I actually find a lot of farmers are still not familiar with AgriInvest and AgriStability. So I'm excited to have you, and we're going to be doing 2 different episodes, guys, so make sure to tune into both of them. We're going to chat about AgriInvest right away, but first, Justin, I want you to tell our audience a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up on a vegetable farm in southeast Manitoba, and that's where I got my appreciation for the farming industry. My parents are passionate farmers. I decided to go a little different route. Some of the inherent risks and stresses that come with farming maybe didn't appease to me all that much, so I decided to go with something a little bit more stable. And accounting was that career path for me. But I still found my way back to my agriculture roots, and now I do a lot of accounting. Almost my days are exclusively dealing with clients that are farmers and helping them out to better manage their operations.
Excellent. And I find agriculture is such a small world, and even if people don't end up farming, it seems that they always kind of end up in an associated industry, right?
That's right. Yeah. It's hard to really take farming out of, farmers in the first place, but even farming children. I think there's always that close connection and that appreciation of what farming means and what farmer brings to families, to the communities, and everybody that benefits from it, of course.
Amen to that. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Why don't we dive right in and let's chat about AgriInvest. And I may ask some really 101 questions, and bear with me because in the show, for those that watch, I like to throw myself under the bus and really ask some of those 101 questions, because I find if I'm stumped when I'm chatting with somebody, there might be somebody in our audience. So forgive me in advance if I ask a basic question, but let's get it all out. So what is AgriInvest and how does the program work?
All right. So AgriInvest is a program, part of the risk management programs that are are provided by the governments, both provincially and federally, or shared. And AgriInvest specifically is a program that is a savings or deposit account, which comes from money deposited from the producer and then matched to a certain point or certain degree by the government, which with the end goal of helping manage cash flow when there are small or more minor decreases in production for a farmer. So in essence, it's a cash flow management tool to help when in more immediate needs for farmers.
So we are part of AgriInvest, Anthony and I, and our farm. To me, it's a no-brainer. I call it the rainy day fund.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I would also describe it as a no-brainer. If you have a farming operation, as long as you meet the eligibility criteria, I also like to describe it as it's almost like free money from the government. Yes, it requires the farmer to contribute and make a deposit, so to speak. But then you get a matching deposit from the government. So I know probably a lot of people out there, non-farmers, would gladly like to get some matching deposits from governments.
You are stealing the words right out of my mouth. No-brainer was the second thing I was going to say. And here at Farm Marketer, I'm a business owner. And in my wildest dreams, could I only imagine a program where the government would match some money in an account just because I paid an application fee. Like that, it's just phenomenal. And to me, I think the only reason farmers likely don't participate, and you can correct me on this as we go, is because they don't know about it. And that's why I wanted to do this episode.
Yeah, that's right. Either they don't know about it, or maybe they don't fully understand what the implications are or the ramifications that come from it, right? And as much as there is a cost in the sense of making a deposit, making a contribution, at the end of the day, that's still money that belongs to the producer. It's just sitting in a separate bank account, which increases because the government, again, gives contributing or matching contributions, and it also increases because interest is paid on those accounts.
I forgot all about the interest paid. I was just thinking and focusing on the contribution. So that's a great warm-up about how passionate both of us are about this program. So why don't we dive into how farmers can qualify? And I have a few notes here. Is there a minimum, maximum size of farm? Is it open to all Canadian farms and farm types? Can you walk me through some of those things? Yeah,
sure. So generally, yes, there is a type of minimum or maximum. If you allow me, let me go a little bit into maybe the mechanics or the technical side of the program. So where the minimum comes in is you have to have a certain amount of what the program refers to as allowable net sales, which generally speaking is your commodity sales, so crop sales, livestock sales, less your commodity purchases, seed costs, livestock purchases. That gives you your allowable net sales. That is the reference point to determine what deposit the producer can make that will be matched by the government. Now, that allowable net sale needs to be at least $25,000 for a farmer to qualify for a matchable deposit. And that matchable deposit actually end up being calculated as 1% of that allowable net sales. Right, so 25,000 of allowable net sales at 1% is $250. So as long as that criteria is met, the producer puts in that $250, the government will match $250.
And that's really quite small to begin with, right?
Generally speaking, right? Farmers who have an operation, not that it needs to be a full-time operation, but large enough, usually can meet that minimum allowable net sales quite easily in a year.
They don't want somebody with a pig, a chicken, and a cat.
Yeah, I think what they're doing there is they're trying to eliminate or weed out hobby farmers. Not that there's anything wrong with being a hobby farmer, but it's really the program to really help those full-time or more permanent farmers, right?
Okay.
Now, the minimum is $225,000 of allowable net sale or $250 of matchable deposit. The maximum happens to be capped out at $1 million of allowable net sales or $10,000 of matchable deposits.
Okay.
Now that might sound large, but some pretty big farming operations out there, it's not necessarily uncommon for them to hit that maximum.
Well, I'd imagine a big dairy operation or a big grain operation. Obviously, the bigger your operation, the bigger your income.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah. But you did make a good point there about a dairy operation. So let me use that as a segue into farming operations that do not qualify for AgriInvest. So supply managed operations or supply managed farms that produce supply managed commodities, they do not qualify for the AgriInvest program, or at least the component of their operation that is supply managed. So if like a dairy operation, but if a dairy operation has a cropping or even a cattle, feeder cattle operation, that income or those commodity sales can qualify, but not the milk or the dairy revenue itself.
Or chicken or anything.
Or chicken or eggs, yeah.
Okay.
Others that do not... Yeah. So, which I guess could make sense in some ways, right? I'm sure producers can disagree with me, but being part of the risk management strategy, I guess supply managed operations are viewed as some of their risk is taken away that other operations are more exposed to, of course. Now, lesser known off farm operations that might not qualify, which typically I don't necessarily look as farming operations in the first place. Aquaculture commodities, so more or less like fish farming, does not qualify, do not qualify for AgriInvest. Okay. Tree producers that produce trees or grow trees for lumber or the construction industry or sold as firewood, those kinds of sales or commodities are not considered commodity sales for this program.
Okay.
So I think those are the bigger. Of course, there's also I'm sure others out there that could be more specific that don't qualify, but those are the bigger ticket items, so to speak, that would not qualify. And one other thing as well that might be important to mention is farmers or farming operations that buy commodities and then flip them or resell them also don't qualify. So I'm a wheat producer, but I also happen to buy wheat for resale. That's part of my operation. That wheat sale and arguably the wheat purchase itself would also not factor in to the AgriInvest calculation.
Okay. So we're really looking at beef, crops, and hogs?
Correct. I would say, I guess in crops you can lump in there horticulture as well. So yeah, grains, oilseeds, special crops, horticulture, livestock are the big ticket items.
Well, thanks for clarifying that. I didn't realize that. I just kind of thought it would be blanket right across the board. If you're farming, you qualify, but I guess a few of those do make sense if you want to look at it from the government's aspect.
Of course.
Okay. So that's minimum, that's maximum, that's who qualifies, who doesn't qualify. We chatted about how they calculate the cost of entry. That's
Correct,
1% of the net allowable sales. So let's just talk about the mechanics. I know it's fairly easy, but let's say I like the scenarios. So let's say I'm a farmer that has never done this, like you out there watching the show. I go, wow, this is pretty easy and I qualify, and who wouldn't like free money? So I come into Talbot Associates because I'm a Manitoba farmer, and I want to get you guys to help me fill these forms out.
Right. Okay. So again, if you're asking us to help you out along the way, we try and make the process as simple and as easy as possible. Now, if you are an individual farmer or unincorporated farmer or a partner of a partnership, generally speaking, the income and expenses that we need to report on your personal income tax return by default is the information that's required, or at least includes the information that's required for AgriInvest program. So if we're preparing your farm statement for your personal tax return, we already have all the tools available. It's just maybe one of the two farm statements that we need to prepare. Now, for almost all of our farming clients, regardless if they have shown interest or not to be an AgriInvest, we tend to default to prepare their farming statement on the AgriInvest application because we need to report it for tax purposes anyways.
Right.
And we file that electronically on your behalf. Yes, the tax return goes to the Canada Revenue Agency, but then CRA takes care of forwarding that information to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, who are responsible for processing the AgriInvest. So once all that processing gets done, the producer would end up getting a deposit notice. Okay. And that deposit notice would indicate the deposit that they would make that is fully matchable. They could also opt at that time, if they wanted to put more money into their AgriInvest account, even though that might not be matchable. There are some strategies there that could be useful for some producers. Now, if you are brand new to the AgriInvest account, you would then be required to open up an AgriInvest account with your financial institution. So most banks and all banks and credit unions have the ability of opening AgriInvest accounts. And I think that's an important component of the program to note as well, is that this account, the saving account that the producer puts money into, and then the government puts money into, is a bank account that belongs to you. It is under your name. It is at your financial institution. So it makes it really easy to not only contribute money, but when the time comes or the decision is made to draw money out, it is very easily accessible. So that deposit, that account that you may not have because you are a new participant, when you get that first deposit notice, you will be initiated or invited, so to speak, to open that bank account. Again, you go to your financial institution or the financial institution that you choose to deal with or open an account, open it up, put that money in there. And within a certain period of time, there's no specifics, but usually it's relatively quickly, within a few months, usually a few weeks or a month at most, the government has contributed or injected their share into your bank account.
Yeah, and the first time we've been doing it, years already. As soon as we found out about it and learned how smart it is, same thing, got our accountant put it together. We got the letter. I mean, it's a little bit annoying, free money. How do you find that annoying? But you got to go open a new bank account, and it's a one-time thing. And then each year you just go in, put the money into that special account, not your regular accounts, that special account, and they match it, and all said and done.
Yeah, that's correct. I'd say there's a little bit more administrative burden the first year to open it, but once you've got it set up, especially if you're dealing with the same bank for your checking account and your AgriInvest account, these days it's sometimes just a matter of transferring the money, using your online banking and transfer that money right in there. So there are plenty of ways to make it easy for the producer to make the deposits and at the end benefit, in essence, from free money.
So I just really kind of want to hit home. I'm French, talking with my hand there in my pen. I want to hit home. I mean, you apply, you open an account, and let's say my contribution amount, is that what you would call it?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go with $500. So every year I go to the bank after I get my notice. They tell me how much I get to contribute. I go to the bank, put $500 in, and then, like Justin says, within a few weeks, the government's put another $500. It's amazing. It's almost like your parents giving you allowance again. It's a really weird analogy, but when I first started, I'm like, who gives you money? It's amazing.
Right.
And the one thing I wanted to point out too, because then I can imagine you out there going, oh, great, we got to keep it there forever. You can actually take the money out right after the government puts their money in, right?
That's correct. Any balance that's in that account at any time can be withdrawn at the producer's discretion. Right now, if you've just put in your $500, I would probably wait that the government's $500 makes its way into the bank account, so not to interfere with the matchable process. But once that other $500 is in there, should you want to take it out, you can do it that next day.
Yeah.
So for those who are concerned sometimes of cash flow issues, right? I often get is like, well, I maybe don't have the money to put in the 500 or the 1,000 or whatever the amount may be. As much as I can understand that, is it might just be a need for temporary cash flow, right? Get that $500, put it into your AgriInvest account, wait those few weeks, pull it out, even if you maybe need to dip a little bit deeper into an operating line or make some small arrangements to gain temporary financing to make that deposit. Do it. Even if you're going to pay a little bit of interest on an operating line or short-term loan, just wait those few weeks, take it out, pay back the loan, and you've more or less gained yourself, doubled up the money.
Yeah, you can't have a better investment than that. And I'm glad you nailed that point and drove it home, because that's what I wanted to say. And I know a lot of farmers, I've heard that too. And they go, well, if money's tight, money's tight. And right now we're in COVID-19 and a lot of the markets have tanked, right? And if somebody says, well, you need to put $2,000 in an account, and they think it's going to stay there, well, chances are they're not going to be part of the program. But if you can find $2,000 wherever, like you said, operating line of credit, put in that bank account, get matched from the government, and then put it back where it's supposed to go. I mean, I don't think there's better odds on anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially that there's really no strings attached to it in that regard, right? There is no waiting period. There's no years that needs to be put in there and taken out before it's taken out. Sorry. And now, of course, I'll toe the government line here a little bit. Generally speaking, AgriInvest program is designed to foster or encourage savings as a rainy day fund, as you had mentioned earlier, that when a situation arises where there is maybe an immediate need for cash flow, it is there to support. So it's not that you cannot put money in and take it out immediately. Is sometimes if the cash flow is there and that $2,000 that you put in initially is not absolutely needed back at the very moment, it's not a terrible idea to keep it in there and let it grow in value with the interest and future contributions to a time or a day that it is needed to help the operation manage those immediate needs.
Well said, the accountant. And you know what? That is so true. Of course. I mean, savings is good. And we have done a good job, Anthony and I too. We haven't touched that. We have not touched it since we started. And it is our rainy day fund. If things go haywire, well, you know what? We have quickly developed a little nest egg there that if the engine goes in the tractor, I mean, we have that to pay if we need to, right? And it's actually nice. It's a nice blessing if needed.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure you would have made a segue into this, but as much as we painted the picture all rosy and great and free money, of course, there is some tax consequences to receiving that money from the government. So as much as the government will contribute into it and you will earn interest on it, eventually you will need to pay taxes on that government's portion. So, but not when you receive it, rather when you choose to draw the money out of the account at a later date. Right. So you are accumulating some income that will eventually need to be taxed. And of course, with the right tax planning strategy or timing of the draws, you can make it a very tax efficient draw when the timing is right to do so for your operation.
Okay, so let's say after X many years, we have $10,000 in the account and we pull $10,000 out because we needed it. Does that, and I'm going to hurt my non-accountant brain here. I'm a numbers gal, but not an accountant gal. So does that just go as revenue?
Generally, yes. So of the 10,000, sorry, let me take a step back. Of the 10,000 that's in your bank account, of course, you have approximately 5,000 of your money that you put into it, and $5,000 of the government's money. Now, it might be closer to, let's say, 10,200 because you've also earned $200 of interest on the account. Okay. When you draw money out, especially if you draw all of the money out, you will then have to report as income the $5,000 that the government has contributed and the $200 of interest that you've earned at the time of withdrawal.
That makes sense. It's much like any of the other government programs. MASC, a lender here, if you get the young farmer rebate, you got to claim that. And there's never ever a free money without a catch, is there?
No. But in my opinion, it's a small price to pay. Again, going back to that free money concept. In Manitoba, if you're unincorporated, the highest rate of tax that you would pay is a little over 50%. That's gross in itself, but that's still the maximum tax rate that you pay. We would most likely work with our clients, not most likely, we would work with our clients to make sure that they do not pay the highest rate of tax on that withdrawal and time it and pay the least amount of tax possible.
You made me think of two things. I think you touched on this at the beginning, but let me ask it anyways. If our farm, we're not incorporated, but if we were incorporated, we still qualify?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry, I should have expanded on that a little earlier. So participants or people who can are eligible to participate are individuals who have individual farms or sole proprietorships, partners that are part of a partnership, and corporations.
Okay, perfect. Right. And I want to go one level deeper than that. So myself and Anthony, we're partners on the farm and we both claim farm income or farm loss, whatever the situation is. So I wanted to make a note that both of us, we both participate in the program and we both have our own accounts and we both get government matching. So I wanted to bring that up, right? Because partners, it's double the benefit, right?
In essence, right? Because it's not the farm itself for that's registered, that's enrolled in AgriInvest. It's the partner or the individual. So in your case, you have two individuals participating as one partnership. So you, like you said, each have your own account, each have your own contribution, and each have your own matching component from the government.
Okay, good. I want to bring that up because I would imagine that a lot of farm families are the same. If they're not incorporated, there's two individuals and that's double the benefit and it adds up twice as quick.
Correct. Yep.
It's what we've found. I'm a big fan, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I'm a big fan as well. It's very rare that any of our clients, farming clients, are not in AgriInvest. And new clients that we bring on, if they're not AgriInvest, that's one of the first things that we highly, highly recommend. There's almost no strings attached. Even if we file an application on your behalf, like I said earlier, that we almost default to that for all our farming operation. When you get that notice to put money in to the account, you can always choose not to do it as well. Not my advice to that client or that producer, but of course you can always choose not to. So there's really no downside to reporting your farm income on an AgriInvest application, and at the very least qualify for something.
So two quick questions here. I imagine that a lot of people already have their own accountant. Of course, I'd love to send people your way. I think you guys have an amazing firm, Talbot Associates here in Manitoba. I'd love to send business to you, but if individuals do have their own accountant. We want to respect that. But what if they're sitting here watching this and they're going, we don't do this? Should they ask their accountant? Is this something all accountants can prepare?
Yes, arguably so. We're not looking to pull clients away from their accountants, right? We benefit from strong relationships with our clients, so I respect that for other producers as well. However, if they're not enrolled in it or haven't been, then they should definitely speak to their accountant about it. It's not specific to accounting firms or only certain accounting firms that can apply for it on their client's behalf. It's really about the application form itself, which is available not only to all accountants, it's actually available to the producers themselves if they want to fill it out themselves and not have it linked or part of their income tax return.
I was going to say, I don't know if there's any farmers out there that do their own taxes, but in that case, they could just go apply and do this themselves if they want.
Absolutely. You do not need to, I'm maybe shooting myself in the foot a little bit here, but you do not need to use the services of an accountant to apply or participate in AgriInvest. So if that is one of somebody's hesitation out there, please do not make it the reason that you're not participating.
Thanks for saying that. And I firmly believe that too. We want to add value to the people on the show, and if they can do it on their own and they want to, good. But one of the things I am a firm believer in life in all areas is paying professionals to do what they do best. AgriInvest might be a little bit easier. I wouldn't want to deal with it. It's just part of my taxes that somebody does. But we're going to flip over to AgriStability for the next episode, and I pay my accountant to do that because there are some technical details in there, and I firmly believe when somebody has specialized knowledge, you come out further in the end. Even if you got to pay an accountant a little bit, just let them do what they do best. Accountants don't go out and try and farm, right?
Or maybe they shouldn't. But to that point, being a professional and being a professional that prides themselves in trying to help farmers, we always tell all of our clients, listen, surround yourself with knowledgeable, competent professionals. Let those professionals help you in the areas that you need help with or that are maybe a little weaker from your perspective. Maybe you don't like the paperwork. Maybe you don't like the administrative side of things. Well, there are people like myself who do like that and find it enjoyable and fun. So surround yourself. And that's not just that goes beyond the agriculture programs, AgriInvest, AgriStability. I think it goes to anything that's related to your farm, right? Or as a business owner, anything that relates to your farm. Reach out, gain the knowledge, and bring people onto your team that will only make your organization or your operation stronger. Yes, that comes with a cost, but the benefits often outweigh the costs.
Amen. I am a big fan of that philosophy. In the entrepreneurial world, they call it stay in your zone of genius.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, I use my personal situation is I'm more than capable of changing the oil in my car, but I choose not to because somebody else that's better and more qualified can probably do it quicker and more efficiently than I can. And for the time that it would take me to change my oil, I can focus on something that I do better, in this particular case, accounting, and help out other people while I pay somebody to do it on my behalf, right?
Yeah. Amen. Same with me. I have my zone of genius when it comes to my business and I stay there. Could I do different parts of my business? Yes, I've done them. But if I could be interviewing great people like you and putting great content out, I think that's where my expertise is versus doing something else that frustrates the heck out of me and I don't enjoy it. And same for farmers too. We've gone through that on various levels on the farm, not to harp on this, but I think it's a great mindset that everybody needs to get on board your zone of genius. Even with Anthony, there's different things that he could be doing. But let's say he's sitting there working on all this paperwork. First off, if I actually get him to sit down and do it, one, right? But number two, what if somebody's calving and he should have been out there checking and then a calf dies? Well, that's a good $1,200 come fall he would have had. I think it would have been cheaper and I exaggerate, but I love that philosophy, and all the time in my business, and as farmers, business owners, we need to check ourselves. Zone of genius, right?
That's right. That's right. The best partnerships are those that complement each other. It doesn't need to be an official partnership like we're farming together, but I consider myself a partner in a lot of our clients' farms because we play an active role of fulfilling the need for that operation, and again allows them to focus on things that they are better at, and we step in where we're best at, right?
Excellent. And same with this show. I could sit here and try and do an episode about these programs, but why would I? Why don't I get the people that know it and like it on the show? So thanks.
Right.
Okay, I think to me, I asked all the questions. I think we went through everything. Is there anything you want to add that we might have missed?
Yeah, let me go back on a couple of points,
Okay.
Or points we didn't bring up yet. There's often a situation where eventually there will be a situation where producers are no longer farming, and they've accumulated all of this money, or have any kind of money left in their AgriInvest account. We often get the questions like, what happens to that? Can I keep this account open indefinitely? The short answer is no. When you cease farming, and as per AgriInvest rules, ceasing farming would be 2 years of 2 back-to-back years of not reporting any information on an AgriInvest application. The program administration will initiate an account closure.
Okay.
And when that happens, the producer usually has a very short period of time to manage that closing of the account. And if it hasn't been planned properly, especially if you've accumulated a lot of money in there over the years, and used it more as a retirement plan than a program to help the farm as it moves along, you could be left with a sizable income tax bill, which then you look back in hindsight, still good deal because you still got free money, but paying more to the government, nobody loves doing that. Nobody wants to do it. So my word of caution on that is accumulate funds in your account for those rainy day needs. But be careful or be wary of how much you accumulate, and have a plan in place to draw that money out in an efficient or tax efficient manner, and you are not left accumulating hundreds of thousands of dollars and having been forced to pull that out all in one shot. That will be a costly situation for you.
Thanks. I didn't even think of that. You can tell I am hopefully a number of years away from retiring. Those things don't even dawn on me.
No, they don't, right? But you hear out there that some producers are using it as a retirement pool or buffer, and there's nothing against the rules to do that. But it can, like I said, it can come and bite you if you don't manage it properly. The other thing that's important that I have yet to see in any of our clients, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, there is an account maximum that the account can get to before the government will stop putting money into it. Like the producer can choose to keep on putting money in, but once you hit that maximum, as much as you qualify for matching contribution, the government will not match if you've hit that maximum. Now it's quite high, and that's why for all our clients, we have not seen them hit that, even if they have not ever drawn from their account. It is the calculation ends up being 400% of the average of allowable net sales over the last 3 years. So it's different for everyone, different for every operation. And if you ever wondered what that account maximum is, when you get your deposit notice from the program administration, they will be flagged on there what the account maximum is. So for those who may be reaching or getting close to it, to avoid losing out on a matchable deposit, you want to pay attention to that. And there's nothing that would prevent you from pulling money out of the account the moment before you need to put money in and the government contributing it. That's for sure a strategy that can be used.
I was just starting to think of ways around it. So let's say, and I'm not doing math here, I'm absolutely going to check my statement when I get home to see that. But let's say the max is 50,000 in the account and I'm there and my next year's coming up. I just want to take out.
Yeah, let's assume that your matchable deposit is $2,000, right? Pull out the 4,000, bring your account down to 46, and oddly enough, put the 2 back in that you're required to put in, and then the government will match the other 2, and then you're back at 50,000, right? Yes, you've triggered a withdrawal. Yes, some of that withdrawal is taxable, and that's maybe viewed as a downside. But again, small price to pay to get that other free contribution from the government, and it's money that you'll eventually have to pull out anyways. So paying tax on it now, especially at a lower rate, tax rate that is, the better, which again plays into properly managing the AgriInvest account and the taxes that are eventually due on it.
Okay. So not a big deal, just something to be aware of.
Correct. To pay attention to it. Us as accountants, we tend to reach out to our clients and make sure that their account is not nearing maximum, so that they're not stuck into that position of like, whoops, I just lost out on 2,500. Doesn't matter what the amount is. Any amount of money, free money lost is money lost and not great.
Amen. Okay, that's a great one. Did you have any other clever points hiding there?
No,
brain?
Yeah, sure. Questions that we often get from our producer when they understand that there is a taxable component to that account, they always go to is, can I pull out the non-taxable component, the 1/2 that I contributed into it before I pay taxes on the government and the interest component? Well, unfortunately not. The pecking order, so to speak, as you pull money out is you deplete the government's portion and interest portion first, which is often referred to, or not often, it is referred to Fund 2. So again, looking at your statements that you receive from the agriculture, from the program administration, will refer to Fund 1 and Fund 2. So Fund 1 is the producer deposits. Fund 2 is the government deposits and interest earned. So you will deplete your Fund 2 before you dip into your Fund 1. So there's that to be aware of as well. So don't go out pulling money out that $50,000 bank account. And you say, hey, 25,000 is free. Let's pull out 25. Well, you can, nothing against that, but you will pay taxes on that 25 because it will come out of Fund 2 first.
Good to know. That's a clever brains thinking of those things.
And it always doubles back to making sure that you plan correctly for those draws, and where the accountant in me says you want to pay the least amount of tax on there. So plan it, be in discussion with your accountant if you have an accountant helping you out making some of those tax planning decisions as to recommendations and timing of it, because it could make a big difference of just a couple of days pulling out money on December 31st versus January 1st of the next calendar year, or next fiscal year if you're a corporation, and shifting the tax liability from one year to next, that you might be in a lower or higher tax bracket.
Okay, excellent. I love it. You could tell you know this stuff through and through.
My colleagues definitely accuse me of being a pretty big accounting nerd, and I kind of take pride in that because I love my job and I love what it does and what I can do for my clients, especially my farming clients.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll say it to the end of the time. These programs, AgriInvest, no-brainer, and AgriStability, which we'll move into for our next episode, AgriStability has actually come in very handy for us as well. So that is a reason why I'm taking time and getting great minds like you on to share this with farmers. And one of the reasons deep down why I started this show, farmers are very busy individuals. I don't care what kind of operation you have. It is labor intensive. It is long hours, and you have a million things on your brain already. What I have found is farmers like farming. Farmers might not like doing the paperwork and the business end. So the goal with my show and why I bring these short episodes on are to say to farmers, hey, look, this is something that's important to your operation. Here is the half an hour short version of it. Go look into that. So I can take the great ideas from the great minds like yours, give them the nugget, and then they can take and implement that on areas of their business where they might not like doing, right?
That's
Just
right.
Like, I like being on shows. I like doing sales for the organization. I probably don't love doing the paperwork as much, so I probably avoid it. And if I didn't have the ideas and the knowledge, then we miss out on some good stuff like programs like this. So
Exactly.
that's the reason why I do this show, and so happy to have you on.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to add on there?
No, other than, again, if you are not enrolled in AgriInvest, you should consider it. Speak to somebody, speak to a professional, either be it your accountant. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can even call our office or offices. We have a dedicated team of individuals that work specifically for farmers who know these programs, who knows the in and out, and can definitely clarify any questions that you may have. And even if you are not our client, do not hesitate to reach out. Right? I get enjoyment, not of the sales I make to clients, but of the level of help that we can provide to producers, to farmers, and to clients in general. So
That's
reach
awesome.
out.
Okay, so right now as we record this episode, I do believe we are April 29th. The one thing I wanted to ask you, because depending when somebody's listening to this, it might be long gone, we're in COVID-19 and there's typical deadlines, and I know the government's extended a lot of deadlines. What is the typical deadline, and did this one get extended?
All right, that's a really good question that who didn't come up earlier, but
I almost forgot the most important one.
So right now, the deadline for AgriInvest applications is actually September 30th of every year, of the following year. So for the 2019 program year, the deadline is September 30th, 2020.
Okay.
Now, that being still well into the future, there have been no immediate announcements on extending that deadline. Now, that might change, but given that we are April 29th right now, you still have plenty of time to complete and to file an application or get to somebody to help you out to complete the application. For our cropping farmers out there, of course, seeding is just about to begin, and that starts becoming a busy time for farmers. But it would not take a lot for us or any other accountants to help you out with that application.
So let me just clarify that, make sure I caught that. So we have until September 30th, 2020 for 2019?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct, yeah.
These program deadlines often mix me up, so I'm glad that we clarified that. So depending when you're listening to this, and I mean if you're listening to this years down the line, which podcast and video content lives on the web forever, just know that you have till the end of September for the previous year.
That's correct.
Okay, good thing we didn't forget the most important.
No, yeah, right.
Okay, excellent. On that note, if you don't have anything to add, you touched on Talbot. You have locations across Manitoba. If there's farmers that would love to chat with you or anybody that has questions, how can they connect with you?
Right. So one of the go-to places these days is the website, and we do have a website. It is talbotcpa.ca, and on there you can find all of our locations. We have a number of locations spread out throughout the province, which no doubt is a location close to your farm. operation. You can find the contact information there. Ask to be referred to an ag team member, and somebody that is familiar with the programs will be more than happy to help answer your questions.
Perfect. And if anybody is watching this from outside Manitoba, these programs are national right across Canada. Talk to your accountant or phone a local accountant, Myers Nurse, whoever it may be, and they can help you out.
That's correct. They can even call us in Manitoba. I have no opposite. We have clients actually outside of Manitoba as well, even though only our physical locations are in Manitoba. But we have served, or we do serve clients and farming clients outside of Manitoba.
I didn't realize that. Thanks for jumping in then. Then that adds a ton of value to everybody out there. You guys are great. So I'm happy to recommend you to our audience.
Great.
So thank you so much for joining us. I love that you're passionate about what you do, and that's why I want to bring you on the show. You're passionate about helping farmers just as we are. So thank you for joining us, Justin. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and thanks for having me.
Perfect. And thank you guys for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And if this is of interest, make sure to tune in to our other episode with Justin about AgriStability. So thanks again for joining us. See you on the next one. Bye.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.